is the fact that President Museveni thinks like he used to think many years ago on things which have failed to work, and I think he thinks that by doing them again and again he will get different results. The same president, this very year we are going to end, or is it last year? This year I think, no, last year, he wrote a letter to his government in which he said he wanted to rationalize government because there were so many agencies doing nothing, and he wanted to get government together again. Those so many agencies, the president partly contributed to their formation by creating a parallel government within government. He has his own government in the State House, yes, and the office of the president, and several other departments he creates here and there. Now he comes and there are a lot of anti-corruption agencies and institutions around, scattered all over the place, but corruption is growing every day. And now he's creating another institution, or another unit. It right away from the beginning you can see this unit will not work, will not succeed, because the problem of corruption in Uganda is not because we don't have enough institutions to fight it, or that those which are in place are incompetent, that they can't fight corruption. To me, I've said it and I've written also, our corruption has been blossoming because there was no strong political will to fight it. The president is the one to stop this corruption himself by supporting the institutions which are there. Some of them are enshrined in the constitution, like that IGG office. When he brought Muriagonja, he told us, now I've finally got someone. This lady is going to help me to fight this monster. And the lady has tried to do her job. But you know, in Uganda, when this corruption starts from certain areas where some people are becoming untouchable, that they will steal and get away with it. Now, like for example, on the same day he was launching this unit, a journalist asks him, what about this $500 million given to your minister? And he said, well, he told me it was a donation, but we are going to investigate. Right away you have lost it from there. So I think the president doesn't need more institutions. He needs to transform himself, not his government, into someone who can. I don't want to go into the politics of him going away or not going away. That one we have discussed it, and is not going away anyway. He has even told us not very soon. So what I think he needs to do is to have a good sleep somewhere in Rwachtura and say, from today I'm going to sack people. He starts with the powerful people who have been implicated in corruption scandals. Those ministers, I know they are not the most corrupt. The core of corruption in Uganda is down there in the bureaucracy, in the people who called accounting officers. They are the ones who really connive with whoever is going to steal government money, and they get away with it. So he needs to start by getting on these people, the political leaders, to send a message to these others, and also empower the institutions. When they arrest people, let them take them to court and they end up in jail. But in Uganda, I don't know, other than Kazinda, who else is in jail over corruption?
Obe Luamafa, Jamwa was there.
He died.
Jamwa passed there. And others. Anyway, the thing is,
there was a vice president there.
We need to have.
Someone has sent me Someone has sent me a reminder that even the former teacher Tueheo also went to State House as an anti-corruption unit. I remember that one.
Yeah, so many. It's a cocktail. It's a cocktail of things. Let me
just correct that, Oscar, before.
He says someone has said. Doesn't have to be.
No.
Let him correct it.
Initially, the president had posted Tuheyo Major Mata Simwe Fumara Simbarara and Sister somebody to that unit, but he has since transferred them to the office of the president in the RDC Secretariat, because they coordinate RDC work around.
Tuheyo used to be very good for us teachers. So,
No.
Namfi.
So Tuheyo, I just want to make a correct. Tuheyo is not in the anti-corruption unit of State House. No.
And you concede it to do good work for us as an agitating for teachers.
When did the president communicate? When you were
Namfi,
No.
so you don't see any positive outcome from this new State House anti-corruption agency?
Of course. Where is any positive outcome in this country or in anything that the president has tried to do? So no, it's you see, I've said it before. The only person that this president wants to please is the international community at any given time. And internationally, he's fighting for his life after the Kutesa. Not fighting for his life, but he's in a medical condition after the Kutesa, because he'll get away with it. Like, let's not make no mistake of that. So he's trying to counter that Patrick Ho situation where he's reported, which is really shameful, because what is $500,000 to our president? And he still says he thought it was a gift, and I don't think he's the person who needs gifts at this point. But he came off not looking very, very good, and I think this whole anti-corruption thing is him trying then to is poetry. What can I say? Weak effort. It's because if you think that there are government institutions that are not working, you're the head of the country. Call those people in and sack them. Put those people who work in those positions. Why then do we still need to pay the IGJ when you've decided her institution is not working? He comes and makes all these statements, damning so many people. NADS is not working. This is not working. Instead of making NADS work and appointing a better person to do that, he goes ahead then to create an Operation Wealth Creation, and then puts army generals who have no qualification. What is Nakalema's qualification to do this?
She's a colonel.
Who does what?
She's just come back from school.
Has she even been at least to Sandhurst to a proper military training? Other than this, Ugandan.
She's just come back from school, we're told.
In Chankwanzi?
No.
Where they fight corruption? Has she taken some? Yeah, but do they?
She just come from war college.
As if we have any war. But what I'm saying, whatever she has studied, does not give her the qualification to handle corruption, which is a huge problem in this country.
So,
and when you hear people
opinion,
like Andrew Mwenda speaking and saying corruption is okay because countries like ours live off corruption, they don't realize that people die from corruption. People actually die. And at a time when we are faced with Bank of Uganda and what it did and how it has let down our country and the money we have lost, which could have gone to other things that could have developed this country, when someone comes and just throws such gimmicky, unserious effort towards something like corruption, it's actually insulting to us Ugandans. So no, I don't think Nakalema is going to do anything new. But I think the president, short of, because he hasn't informed himself at where these people are going wrong, and he's the chief corrupt person who throws money at people, who compromises people. If you're in opposition, then he pulls you in and pays money. That's corruption. Corruption is not just about money. Everything he does is corrupt. He's a morally corrupt person. So he cannot.
He took away our Tuheyo, who used to agitate for our
because he knew
teachers'
that if I
money.
give him a position here and see where teachers are. So no, I don't think this is going to help anybody.
So as you come on, there's Timothy in America says, as corrupt as they come. Then I have Flavia in Kampala says, for once I'm with Namfuka. The for once is important. iPod can be relevant in a real democracy and not in a shanty one like we have. Gifts, our regular listener says, Oscar, I disapprove of what Abdu and Gobi say about FDC's decision to boycott the iPod Summit. But I will defend to the death their right to say so. Why waste financial resources and time? For today, Namfi is my hero. Thanks so much, Namfi. Our Moses Yarahanga says, now that Abdu was edited out of the founders list, we need a COSASE to look at the FDC audit report. So, Honorable Semuju, you do not believe this agency can work well?
You see, the story that landed me into prison when I was fresh from university, the first story.
The first prison term.
Yes. Was just to do a report about what was Rure, former deputy IGG, had said at a seminar in Chibuli. So what's already said, if you see flies around you, nobody should tell you that you are smelling. That's what he said at the seminar. So what's already himself was arrested, and I followed the following day for just reporting what Wasore had said. Museveni is a lucky man. They will tell you that he's a good man, but
he's not lucky. He works hard.
People around him are the ones they will follow upon us that are bad. For me, I didn't know that when you are discussing corruption, we'll even be discussing what Museveni is saying, because it is irrelevant. You remember Oscar, when we had him on Capital Gang, and I told him he should stop commercialization of politics. He said, my son, that is a very good point. I am with you. And the man who distributes money, and that is his job almost every single day. When you are looking at the State House budget, they told us they had come for a supplementary budget in the Parliament. The reason they needed so much money was because for every public outreach that the president is going to carry out, today is in Nambour, he's closed all the roads. He needs 2.4 billion for public outreaches. He needs 550 million shilling to meet district delegations. Eventually, that's the money on average that Museveni spends almost daily. I don't know whether he prints, and that's why Bank of Uganda is in all these problems, or it is part of the problem. I hope I will go there. So for me, the point really, I didn't know that this country would be discussing what Museveni has said or what Museveni has promised when we are marking the anti-corruption week. You see, the president participates himself, actually is just protected by the law and the fact that he's a president. I remember when they were chasing Mbabas from NRM, the meeting he had in Chankwans. The NRM MPs told him Mbabas is going to pay for the loans of all the MPs. He has listed 200 because they are also conning him. So he said now he's going to give everybody 150 million shilling. Said, what do we do with the public? And now he's the one who coaching them. He said, we shall deny. And immediately the story came out, the first person to deny was Bahati. Just recently, when we were amending the constitution, Museveni sent the bodyguard, his own bodyguard, that woman, here in Kororo. She was the one distributing first 40 million shilling to all NRM MPs to go and amend the constitution.
This is fact?
It is a fact. Then eventually they went to Webaja. When Nankabir was organizing to host them in Chiboga, they said, we are not going, where is our balance? Because the agreement was 200 million shilling. And then Museveni again brought, this time what he did different, he allowed Nankabirwa and this guy who defeated Wafula. Serwanyi. They were the ones distributing. The MP for Busia municipality and went there. He said, you go away, did you vote with us? And I warned the MPs that one day you're going to be shot by these SFC boys. So they are the ones guarding outside. You enter one by one and you leave with a bag of money. The same way they stole money, 39 billion shilling from Narweso here at President's office during campaigns. In fact, the one who was in charge of that operation said people are just making money and we are looking. So they broke into the room, took away 39 billion shilling. Remember, the story was reported in the media. So now, the one who does all what I have said and what I have not said is setting up an anti-corruption unit headed by Nakalema. Do I need to say anything, Oscar? The one who bribes the MPs and he says, if the public is complaining, let us say, we shall deny. And you see, that's where we are. That's where we are as a country. The short and long of this, the moment you still have Museveni as a head of state, he disempowered himself. He can't fight corruption. Do you know how much Kutesa knows about Museveni and what they have been involved in? I think he laughs. One time they go to Ethiopia with the MPs, a delegation. So Kutesa walks into Museveni's office. The MPs are here waiting. Him, of course, he doesn't wait. So he walks in. He says, "You MPs, you come. We go and see him together." And then Museveni tells him, "You Kutesa, don't spoil my boys." Now he didn't even see them because Museveni knows that every problem, every person who goes to him, it is money. So the moment Kutesa shows up with the boys, he says, "They don't spoil my boys." He went with them and started distributing dollars. Ofano knows in your own meetings of NRM, Kutesa doesn't speak in local currency. He says, "You don't bring these issues of money just to tell you do the budget. Let's discuss other serious issues."
He had 500,000 for charity.
That was peanut. But of course, the moment you begin glorifying money, you will want everything. You will want to run borders, you will want to run aircraft, you will want to run a central bank. So it is not that the president is discovering that Kutesa has issues. He knows they know each other. That's how they do their trade.
Ofanopondo, Semuji says that maybe it is not true that the president has bad people around him. But maybe it is true because you are the advisors. And how do you advise the president to publicize? Because those pictures I saw on social media, the little adverts, they must have come from your office saying the next big thing in fighting corruption. And then the big thing was Kano Nakalema's unit. So when they say, and this is not say that Kano Nakalema is not good, but it's State House, so it is yet another one. So I'm not putting to you that Nakalema can't, but I'm saying to you, when you now describe the next big thing, and then it is a State House unit. So Ofanopondo, you are the people to blame, even though Semuju does not want to blame you.
Well, let me talk about the unit. The unit is not...
And how it is the next big thing.
Yeah, the unit at State House headed by Lieutenant Colonel Nakalema, and by the way, she has just returned from a war college.
War? Are we at war?
No, continue, Ofanopondo.
For the army, in order to be promoted, you must go stages in training.
There are no more wars.
Well, if you think
the unit, please.
But the unit is part
and how it is big
of the existing structures in State House. This time, this particular one, dedicated purposely for three things. One, as the president used, he said, his ears and his eyes, really to connect the president and the population, but also the president, while he's the chief executive, he cannot on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, track what the DPP, what the courts, what the IGG, what Abudu Katundu's office is doing, committee is doing. So he believed he needed someone to track those things for him, summarize for him, and perhaps action points.
What was she doing before?
She was acting PPS before.
Doing what? Clearly she had nothing.
So anyway.
Conference center.
Anyway.
Yes.
Now, if you say
it was our work,
this unit is not relevant, we could as well say in 1986, 1996, before when this constitution came into force, the parliamentary committees of parliament were not as many as they are today. In fact, I remember the NRSC, the only committee we had there was for accountability was PAC. But as you know today, we don't just have PAC, we have PAC for local governments. We have a PAC which we have now named COSASE. We have government assurances. All these are measures for checks and balances. Now, if you say this unit is perhaps irrelevant, then we could as well say, why then do we have committees of parliament? Why do we have even parliament itself? Why don't we just have the executive?
No,
so
like
no. You made your point. You made your point. Stop.
I only have your microphone on. Also continue.
So this unit, that is its purpose. Now, about whether the president is committed, the president did mention, yes, I agree with you. When we advertised, by the way, I was part of that. We made a hype, but the president did not communicate. I want to admit this, that the president did not communicate as sharply as we had advised him, as we had written, mainly because he had attended 3 other functions earlier. I suspect he came when he was exhausted. We have again advised him that we want him to make this communication.
You mean this function that exhausted him?
We have advised him that on 31st, when he is making the New Year speech, he should communicate the points as sharply, as sharp as wanted. But anyway, the gist of it came up, and I think Abdul Katuntu has been in the ring of the anti-corruption agencies, because Abdul Katuntu has been in meetings with these people. They know what they have advised the chief executive to do. One of them is really this issue of seizing or freezing properties that are suspect. Secondly,
That's illegal.
That's illegal. But even within the current legal framework, yes, we can seize some property. But yes, there are things that are immediate. The other one, he did mention was his pending meeting with the Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament, the Chief Justice, on how do we coordinate approach. I mean, Abdul Katuntu has extracted money from Katosi scam. How come that we don't hear similar or the same amount of vigor in the other anti-corruption agencies? How come we don't hear? But we hear from Abdul Katuntu is able to make Chinese return money. So things like those. So the president is going to, he communicated that he's going to meet. We currently, one of the biggest issues is use of the law to defeat justice. One of the things we asked him, and I think he's going to communicate to handle it with the Chief Justice, is the corruption in the judiciary, for example. If a judge, you know, there is this case of Ntungamo, where somebody was being compensated 200 million for leeway for the pylon, and then the person disputed went to court. The judge, a lady, appointed a valuer. Her valuer, the court appointed valuer, came back with the 300 million. When they went to court, the judge disagreed with the 300 million and unilaterally gave 1.2 billion. She made the judgment on Friday afternoon. By Monday morning at 8 a.m., the account of transmission company had been garnished and money taken out. Now, things like those. If a judge does something like that,
some people wait ages.
Yes, so the Chief Justice.
Okay.
So we are saying, we are asking the president that judicial officers of this type should not be. While you may not sack them, no. Why you may not dismiss them? They should not be given any other cases to handle. So
thank you,
a number of measures to the president. I just want to conclude with the one of Honorable Kutesa and the president. For sure, if somebody says that Mr. Museveni, somebody brings for Mr. Museveni money in the boxes, I don't think that person has the brain that in the current world you can still travel through by passenger plane and you're carrying 3, 4, 5 boxes.
The money from Kampala.
No. Boxes of money and so on. Now, about Honorable Kutesa, that region has told Parliament that he has been instructed to investigate, has also written to the IGG. But the real point is, if Honorable Kutesa indeed received a bribe, I don't think you receive a bribe. I agree with the NAFI that $500,000 is actually small for Honorable Kutesa.
Yeah.
But above, but also you don't from facts available, you don't receive a bribe and write acknowledging it, because when his foundation received this, it wrote back acknowledging receipt. Now,
Abdul Katunji.
This was
Thank you. What you have Ofono Pondo responding to is not what we are discussing. So he has gone to Rukunjiri, he has gone to billions, he has gone to what we are discussing. Maybe he has addressed it in a couple of sentences, saying that the president did not address it sharply. What is the topic for discussion here today is that, was that really a big anti-corruption unit that is going to sort us out?
You see, there is something which I fundamentally disagree with President Museveni. One, this NRM government is his government. And it has structures, it has institutions, it has got organs. Many of them created by the law, right from the Constitution and Acts of Parliament. When you're talking about this anti-corruption war, of course, right from the Constitution, we recognize that we needed institutions in place and created them. We recruited, we have trained, and we appropriate money. If there is a problem with the anti-corruption agencies as they are and as created by the law, reform them. Two, he's the appointing authority of many, literally all, except maybe Parliament, of the anti-corruption agencies. If you think just so Mulyagonja is not doing a good job, then bring some other person. If what you don't do, you don't create another institution, because we call it duplication. And once you have duplication, then you need resources to run all of them. Now, Lieutenant Colonel Nakalema is now going to, first of all, she needs manpower. So they have got to create. He has to create a unit, manpower, resources, maybe also train. Two, you are now going to find institutions in unhealthy competition. They start fighting each other, undermining each other, because each of them wants to prove a point to favor the other. Thirdly, when... hold on. Secondly, please. Secondly, when you have a situation like that, it affects the efficiency of these institutions. President Museveni has created another government within the State House. That's why you find that every other time, when we are in the budget process, the State House budget is increasing every other day, and sometimes in a haphazard manner. He makes pledges, then he comes back. We budget according to what he has pledged. Instead, it should have been, okay, the president has this sort of resources, then he pledges according to the budget. Instead, it is the other way around. And whether it is it a State House, what is it called? State House Health Monitoring Unit, which was headed by Dr. Diana, or now anti-corruption, so many.
There's a unit in charge of construction by the Honorable Engineer Badre Chikundu. I don't hear you making a lot of noise about it.
Okay, can I start with that one then? So you need engineers, you need what in the State House. It doesn't work that way. Two, these institutions don't have enough resources. But with the little resources which we have, we are now overspreading them. Sorry?
But is it even legal?
Abdul, yes, I only have your microphone.
So to me, it shows that even the president is not happy with his own government. But at the end of the day, the buck starts and ends with him. So if you think these guys are not doing a good job, fire them. Two, let me tell you, you can't say, let me tell you, one second. You can't say the IGG, okay, we call it the inspectorate. The inspectorate of government is not doing a good job. Then you are creating an institution which does not have a legal mandate. Because even if they came and arrested, where are they going to prosecute them themselves? They have no powers to prosecute. They will certainly have to end up with the IGG again. Because IGG is the one who can prosecute. It will end up with the police.
So he could have made her.
Police and the DPP who can.
Could he have appointed a deputy IGG?
Yes, he can do that. He can do that. You can do that. So to me, I think it is not correct.
Yeah.
He should just reorganize the government.
There's also
reorganize the government.
The proximity.
The correct
Abdul, there's the proximity to the president. Remember, we once hosted after Dr. Diana Atwine had left, we hosted someone from that health unit, and she came in a brand new pickup. And because there was a traffic jam, and so proximity to the president also gives you more resources than what the IGG has been calling for.
That is true. That is true because the president has a leeway in the way he deals with resources. The other institution, they must present a budget, it must be appropriated as such, and they must work within that budget. Whereas it looks like the State House budget is inelastic. Is it what? Elastic? Or
inelastic.
Yes, the State House budget is elastic. So he can have resources as and when he needs them. IGG, the Inspectorate of Government does not have that. You have been appropriated 14 billion, you have to work within 14 billion. So, what
most
the president should be
salaries.
doing,
Yeah.
I said it was an example.
Yeah. So, let's stop for a break. And after
is